Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we cut through the noise and get straight to the insights you need to be truly well-informed. Today, we're diving into, well, an incredible paradox. It's right at the heart of our digital world. On one hand, you've got cyber threats just escalating like crazy, right? Demanding more sophisticated defenses than ever. But then on the other hand, there's this critical, seemingly endless shortage of the actual talent needed to fight these battles.
Yeah, it's a really complex, high-stakes game. And its outcome, it impacts, well, everything from national security right down to your personal data.
Seriously.
That talent gap, it's not just some HR problem tucked away somewhere. It's a fundamental risk.
Absolutely. So for this deep dive, we're plunging into the fascinating, often very lucrative, and always demanding world of cybersecurity careers. Our mission today,
Correct.
to unpack why businesses are scrambling to fill these roles, what kind of salaries are really being offered out there, and crucially, what does it take, not just to get hired, but to truly thrive and, stay satisfied in this high-pressure industry. Our insights today are pulled from a really powerful stack of sources. We've got the 2024 Salary Guide, Cyber Defense USA, from Trident Search.
That's a good one.
Yeah, cutting-edge analyses from EMS Research and Artico Search, and also some incredibly real-world kind of unfiltered perspectives, straight from the trenches via a Reddit thread where professionals are sharing their actual salaries, their experiences.
Yeah, those threads are gold.
Yeah.
They let us connect the big statistics with the very human realities of this vital field. You really see how those macro trends translate into individual careers.
Totally. Before we jump into those insights, though, a huge thank you to our sponsor, www.cisomarketplace.store. Whether you're a CISO looking for solutions, or maybe a professional just aiming to understand the tools of the trade, they're a fantastic resource. Aligns perfectly with our deep dive today.
Good shout out.
All right, let's get into these alarming numbers then. Let's really unpack this cybersecurity talent gap, because the scale of it is, frankly, quite startling. Our sources highlight some pretty stark figures for the U.S. alone. Can you sort of lay out the scope of this problem for us?
Certainly. In the U.S. alone, we're looking at over 663,000 open cybersecurity positions right now.
Wow.
And when you think that the current workforce is just over 1.1 million, well, it means businesses effectively have only about 2/3 of the talent they actually need.
2/3?
Yeah, to adequately protect their systems. That's a massive critical deficit.
That's staggering just for the U.S. What happens when we zoom out? Look at the global picture. Does it just scale up, or is it maybe even worse elsewhere?
It's actually even more pronounced globally. The shortfall is estimated at around 3.4 million cybersecurity professionals worldwide.
3.4 million.
Yeah. And what's really concerning is how this vulnerability isn't spread evenly. It hits critical sectors harder. Our data shows that in banking and capital markets, only 14% of leaders feel they have the necessary cyber talent.
Only 14%?
Yeah. It's a similar story in the public sector, around 15%, and energy and utilities, just 20%. These aren't just abstract numbers. These are foundational industries that are acutely exposed.
So, okay, if these critical sectors are so vulnerable, what's the real-world impact for businesses? Are we talking just like theoretical risks, or are there tangible, painful consequences happening right now?
That's absolutely tangible. This talent shortage, it directly translates to a much higher risk of devastating cyber attacks. Think ransomware,
right?
Sophisticated phishing scams, major data breaches. Gartner, for example, they predict that by 2025, over 50% of significant cyber incidents will be directly attributable to this talent shortage.
Wow.
So it's not hypothetical at all. It's a direct link. Understaffing equals increased breach risk.
And beyond that direct attack risk, what other maybe operational challenges does this create for organizations, the ones struggling to fill these roles?
Well, look, many U.S. cybersecurity regulations, like the ones from NIST and FISMA, they actually require businesses to have dedicated teams in place.
Okay.
So when you lack the people, you inevitably face compliance failures. And that can lead to significant regulatory penalties.
Right.
And, of course, the financial and reputational damage that always follows a major breach, it just far outweighs the investment needed to hire and retain skilled talent. It's a really costly oversight not to invest.
So why is this problem so pervasive then? What are the fundamental root causes? Why this continuous talent drought?
Well, one of the primary drivers is just the sheer speed of technological advancement. New tech like cloud computing, AI, the Internet of Things, IoT, they're being adopted at lightning speed everywhere.
Yeah, across the board.
Exactly. But the number of professionals trained to secure these, cutting-edge systems simply hasn't kept pace with that demand. It's like a constant arms race.
That specialization makes sense given the threats. But you mentioned new threats emerge faster than people can be trained. Are the training programs just not keeping up, or is there something else with supply versus demand?
It's really a combination. I mean, cybersecurity jobs are highly specialized. They require specific technical expertise that often takes years to develop, to mature.
Right.
And while certifications and training programs are evolving, the sheer volume of new people completing them, and crucially, gaining the necessary practical experience, it just isn't enough. Not enough to fill the void created by both constant innovation and the escalating threat landscape.
Okay.
Plus, 2023 was described as a challenging time in the cyber hiring market.
Yeah.
We saw those mass layoffs in tech and IT spill over into cybersecurity too.
Right. That was surprising to see.
Yeah, there were budget cuts, a general tightening of belts. And that even led to, believe it or not, a 4.1% loss in real salary for cyber pros relative to January 2019, just because of inflation.
That's fascinating and, counterintuitive. This massive demand, yet economic headwinds in 23 actually caused real salary losses for some. So how does that challenging period square with this idea of lucrative careers we're about to explore? Because this is where it gets really interesting. Cybersecurity salaries aren't just high, they're still climbing, often way ahead of other industries. What's the average U.S. compensation looking like?
Yeah, despite those, let's call them short-term economic ripples, the underlying demand keeps compensation exceptionally strong. The average U.S. cybersecurity professional earns around $120,000 per year.
$120K average.
Yeah, that's a robust average. Sets a pretty high bar compared to many other sectors.
And what about the top tier? We're talking the real elite earners in this field. What do those numbers look like?
The top tier compensation can be truly eye-opening. Security architects, for instance, they average $206,000.
Wow.
Engineers aren't far behind, about $191,000 on average. And then when you look at security leadership roles, heads, directors, VPs, CISOs, they can command anywhere from $170,000 up to over $300,000.
Right.
And for the most experienced cyber leaders, we've seen base salaries go up to $600,000. Depends on the company size, security maturity, that sort of thing.
And it gets even more astounding at the very top, doesn't it? Our sources show some Fortune 500 CISOs averaging around $700,000 in total comp.
That's right.
And for those at companies with over $20 billion in revenue, that average jumps to, $1.1 million?
An astonishing $1.1 million.
Yeah.
And the top 10% reaching $1.4 million.
And then there was that one reported case, a CISO earning $3.89 million annually. Those are just mind-boggling numbers.
They really are. And those figures, they often include much more than just the base salary. Total compensation is absolutely key in this industry.
Right, the whole package.
Exactly. While, maybe 47% of technical roles get smaller bonuses, like 0.5% of salary, a significant chunk, 25% of leaders, get over 30% of their annual salary as a lump sum bonus.
30% plus.
Yeah, it really underscores that companies are structuring these comprehensive packages to reflect the immense value these leaders bring.
So it's not just about the cash then. Equity options seem increasingly common too. What are the trends there? And what other benefits are becoming sort of standard?
Indeed. 64% of professionals report having stock or share options as part of their benefits package.
That's high.
It is. This used to be mainly a startup thing, right? To attract talent without huge cash reserves. But now, larger businesses are also leveraging equity to stand out in this super competitive market.
Makes sense.
And beyond that, the foundational benefits are robust. 96% get healthcare, which, let's be honest, is pretty much non-negotiable in the U.S., with costs being what they are.
Essential, yeah.
Vision, dental, enhanced pension schemes, disability allowance, additional paid time off. That's all becoming standard, too. We even see 54% reporting more than the standard 10 days of PTO.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it signals maybe a bit of a shift in the U.S. towards more liberal approaches, trying to combat that burnout we hear so much about.
It really sounds like organizations are pulling out all the stops to attract top talent. And if we connect this back, where you live clearly impacts your earning potential too, right? Tell us about the geographical differences.
Absolutely. The data shows a significant regional impact. The U.S. West leads the pack in cybersecurity salaries, followed pretty closely by the Northeast.
Okay, West Coast, Northeast.
Yeah. And there's a noticeable gap, could be up to $61,000 annually when you compare those regions to the Southeast and Central regions.
$61,000 difference. Wow.
Yeah, it really highlights how localized market demand plus cost of living factors heavily into these high compensation figures.
So, okay, we've painted this picture of incredible financial incentives, but here's where the plot thickens, doesn't it? Money alone isn't solving the talent crisis. The data suggests a really significant challenge with retention, even with those soaring salaries. What's going on there?
It's a striking paradox, isn't it? Our sources reveal that a full 65%, almost two-thirds of cybersecurity professionals are planning to move roles in the next 12 months.
65%.
Yeah. And get this, for 60% of them, the main motivation is, surprisingly, a salary increase. Even though salaries are already high, overall job satisfaction in the field, it sits at just 70%. It seems many employees are feeling, well, disgruntled due to factors like cutbacks, those recent layoffs we mentioned, and just increasingly overstretched workloads.
Right.
This can unfortunately create situations of distrust, maybe a poor workplace culture in some places, making retention even harder.
And then there's this unique pressure cooker, the CISO role, Chief Information Security Officer. They face immense pressure, and their average tenure is strikingly short. What is it, 18 to 26 months?
That's the range, yeah, around 18 to 26 months on average.
Compare that to CIOs, Chief Information Officers, they average 54 months. Why such a drastic difference for the CISO?
That short tenure points directly to the immense pressure and, frankly, the burnout they face. A staggering 28% of CISOs are actively considering leaving their jobs because of high burnout rates.
Nearly a third.
Yeah. And in our experience, talking to leaders, around 80% are at least open to conversations about moving somewhere else.
80%.
It's huge. Plus, new SEC regulations have added another layer, personal and professional liability risks. That's pushing some CISOs to leave roles where they feel they don't have adequate board buy-in or, sufficient investment in security.
Liability aspect.
Exactly. It's a high-stakes role with significant personal risk attached now.
That context of personal liability and maybe lack of support is critical. And it sounds like the CISO's job itself is evolving too. What does that mean for their responsibilities, the skills they need to succeed, and maybe stay longer?
It's a profound shift, really. CISOs at higher revenue companies, for example, they're increasingly expected to take full ownership of broader business risk functions.
Like what?
Things like third-party risk management, even helping shape AI strategy for the business.
Okay, much broader than just tech security.
Way broader. It demands a significant shift from being a purely technical IT role to being a strategic leadership function. Requires really strong soft skills, communication, negotiation, networking.
Right, those infamous soft skills.
Exactly. The modern CISO isn't just a technical gatekeeper anymore. They're becoming a strategic business leader. Their success, and frankly their tenure, increasingly hinges on mastering those soft skills and broader risk management. It's a critical shift.
Okay, so if money isn't everything, and clearly it's not the only factor keeping people, what else truly keeps top talent in place, what does the data tell us beyond the paycheck?
Well, the data strongly suggests that culture and environment are incredibly important, really crucial. 44% of respondents said they would move for a better work environment.
Almost half.
Yeah. It emphasizes the need for a supportive team, managers who genuinely value individual contributions, and clear opportunities for growth. Some professionals, interestingly, even accept lower salaries if the work feels purposeful, if it aligns with their values, especially in defensive roles where you feel like you're having a real societal impact.
Purpose-driven work.
Yeah, it's about feeling valued and feeling like you're making a difference.
It definitely sounds like a culture shift is needed in some places, but even with a great culture, burnout is clearly a massive issue. Is work-life balance the main lever to pull there, or are there other things organizations should focus on?
Work-life balance is absolutely critical. We heard that 26% of professionals would move specifically for better work-life balance.
Over a quarter.
Yep. And it's paramount in a field where 66%, two-thirds, again, report feeling stressed at work, and teams are often understaffed.
Yeah, that combination is tough.
It is. So proactive measures like limiting on-call hours, really encouraging people to use their paid time off, those are essential. But beyond that, professional growth cannot be overlooked. Organizations have to prioritize continuous learning, offer clear career paths, funding for key certifications like CISSP or CEH, maybe advanced degrees, mentorship programs. And look, top talent is in super high demand. So a quick, clear hiring process and a strong employer brand, one that showcases innovation and employee growth, those are also vital to attract and secure these professionals before someone else does.
That makes sense. Now, here's another interesting takeaway from our sources. The paths into cybersecurity aren't always what you'd expect, are they? How are people actually landing these coveted roles?
Yeah, it's definitely not always a straight line. Over 70% of security engineers and more than half of security analysts and architects say their prior IT experience was critical.
So starting in general, IT is common.
Very common and a very effective stepping stone. But beyond that, companies are definitely widening their talent pools. They're looking at individuals with non-traditional backgrounds.
Like what kinds of backgrounds?
Degrees in mathematics, engineering, even liberal arts sometimes. You can forget the traditional tech degree requirement in some cases. Cybersecurity is increasingly a field where diverse backgrounds can really thrive.
Interesting.
Your military experience, a math degree, even liberal arts skills like critical thinking and communication, they can be powerful assets. It proves transferable skills are often more valuable than maybe a siloed technical education.
And the military connection seems strong.
It really is. For instance, 13% of Fortune 500 CISOs served in the U.S. military. And they often see a significant pay bump, like 2x to 5x, when they transition to the private sector. It's about recognizing those transferable skills, that dedication, that discipline.
That's fascinating. So to recap then, we've seen the cybersecurity landscape is incredibly dynamic, highly competitive.
Definitely.
There's this significant talent shortage driving up compensation, but also demanding a new focus on retention that goes way beyond just the paycheck.
Yeah, money's not enough.
It's a field where technical skill has to meet strategic leadership, where stress levels are often high, but the mission is absolutely critical to, well, everything in our digital lives.
And looking forward, as technology keeps evolving at this breakneck speed and cyber threats just become ever more sophisticated, how will organizations truly bridge this talent gap in the long term? I mean, this isn't a problem that's just going to vanish anytime soon.
That's the big question. And for you listening, whether you're maybe considering a career in this field or looking to advance where you are, perhaps managing a team, how will you ensure you're not just keeping pace, but truly leading the charge in safeguarding our digital world against these ever-growing threats? We hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights into this really vital industry. And remember, for more resources and solutions in the cybersecurity space, definitely visit our sponsor, www.cisomarketplace.store.